Hi everyone, it's Dave. Hope you're having a good day so far. I don't know whether I've mentioned this yet, but I'm in the middle of writing a book which aims to examine the role of the individual in a world that I see as increasingly becoming dominated by destructive and moronic groupthink. It's kind of like a critical analysis of the rapidly evolving societies in the West, and tries to answer the question about, are we heading into, what dangers lie ahead and what opportunities lie ahead, and how do we realise the power of the individual and the concept of authenticity. So this is a little passage from the book. I don't usually do this, but I just thought I'd read a little passage from the book. So here we go. Before our very eyes, a political, social, health and economic revolution has taken place. In the space of 8 months, and many have not yet noticed, a revolution driven not by the people, but by dark, malevolent forces. A revolution resulting not in the liberation of the population, but in the enslavement of them. And then this is about watching brainwashing in action. This revolution cannot have taken place without an expertly created programme of propaganda and the means to inflict it on an unsuspecting public. Watching this propaganda wrap its evil tentacles around society and convincing nearly all, including myself in its early stages, of its message has been chilling. In attempting to understand the poisonous intentions behind mass propaganda, we must consider the words of Joseph Goebbels, Reich Minister of Propaganda for the Nazi Party and the architect of the biggest lie ever told. He said, if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such a time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic and/or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus, by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state. In reflecting on my societal observations in 2020, it has become clear to me that the lie that has been told and continues to be told is of incredible, incomprehensible magnitude. Worse, it's a lie that's been swallowed by the majority. As I write, there are growing and welcome signs that suspicion and scepticism from the public is building, and thus the censorship of anything that deviates even slightly from the message that governments want to project is growing. Just as Joseph Goebbels told us, the truth indeed is the mortal enemy of the lie. Now take a moment to imagine it's the end of 2019 again. You've been transported back in time and have within your power the ability to dictate what will happen to society in the next 12 months. The fate of the world rests on how you respond to the following scenario. Next year, humanity will be visited by a virus. The virus will have an overall death rate of 0.2%. and an average age of death of 82. It will disproportionately affect old people who already have health conditions, but over 99% of people infected will only have mild symptoms or no symptoms at all. In order to respond to the threat of this virus, here is what we are planning to do. We will focus on tackling this virus at the expense of everything else. We will tell all people to stay in their homes, even if they are perfectly healthy. Hospitals will no longer carry out routine operations. GP surgeries will shut for an entire year, and other medical services such as dentistry withdrawn. Cancer screenings will be suspended indefinitely, and many cancer treatments will stop. Support services for drug addicts, alcoholics and abuse victims will cease to be. The economy will be utterly decimated, as we will pay tens of billions of pounds to some people for doing nothing, and we plan to make millions of others jobless. We will create the conditions whereby small businesses find it impossible to operate, so will have to shut. We will stop anyone from going to pubs, restaurants, football matches and theatres. We will coerce everyone into foregoing contact with other human beings. We will spend 1/6 of the health budget on a testing regime, and we will persuade people to go for a test even if they are perfectly healthy. We will stop children going to school and will subject them to a constant drip feed of fear. We will create a campaign of indoctrination so powerful that people in their millions feel overwhelmed with panic and anxiety. We will remove old people from hospitals and send them to care homes. Many of these old people will die of this virus, as we aren't planning to test them for it, and the rest of them will be prevented from seeing their loved ones. We will make everybody wear masks when they go out in public. We will create mass messaging to ensure that everybody feels terrified all of the time, and we will reinforce this fear via 24-hour-a-day media coverage and daily government press conferences. We will have police hotlines so that people can report any rule breakers. We will create new legislation so that if people want to protest against our measures, they will be arrested by police. We will collaborate with social media companies to ensure that anyone wanting to challenge our strategy is faced with censorship. We will create a narrative so powerful that most people will forget that they still have their intuition and their immune systems. We will completely re-engineer society. Please now, can you advise us on whether we should go ahead with our plans? Now, if this decision was left to you, how would you answer? Would you see the proposed plans as sensible, in perspective, just, humane and workable? Or would you be shocked and horrified to your very core that these measures could even be conceived of in the first place, and suggest something a little more in proportion to the threat? And yet, the majority of people in my country and in countries across the world have been willing acceptors of this new world, with all of its wickedness and backwardness. People in their millions have successfully been manipulated to such a degree that they're being totally disarmed of their capacity for critical thought, and their moral compasses have been recalibrated. They have allowed evil to happen right under their noses. They have been brainwashed, and horribly, many of them don't even realise it. The lesson from all of this: when a lie is so huge and so monstrous, it is easier to compel 1 billion people to believe it than just one person. Speak to you soon.